live stream, and I am your host, David Lee. And with me is an amazing special guest, everyone needs to get the time to get to know this gentleman right here. Please introduce yourself to the know-it-all nation, Mr.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cory Kastle. I'm a pro wrestler, comedian, and podcaster. I'm also an actor. You might know me from such films as Bruce.
Yes, Bruce is amazing. If you follow me on Twitter, I have definitely sent that out, retweeted it several times. I have watched it myself more than once. Very, very good, but we'll talk about Bruce a little bit later on for sure. I've also mentioned it on this live stream in the past too, so in case you guys found this familiar or you've already seen, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, but yes, go ahead.
If you've watched it already and you're a watcher of this live stream, like go ahead and watch it again. If YouTube's on your TV, even better. Like I always promote people to watch it on the big screen because like that's the best way to take it in. That's the way I've watched it. I know I've watched it like 90 times already. It's only 15 minutes.
Oh yeah. Right. So the reason why we have you on here today, Mr. Cory Kastle, for everybody, but let's give a quick time out. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Ben Espinoza, how you doing? Katie Martin, Ron Hawthorne, EJK, Timothy Mendoza, Inigo Montoya, and King Kaito. We'll catch up to more people as they file in. But so the reason why we're having you on the show today, Mr. Cory Kastle, is I don't know why I keep calling you Mr. Anyway, the reason why we're having you on today is that we have a state of affairs when it comes to independent wrestling, and I want to speak specifically to you, a member of the professional wrestling community, about what do you think is going on with the aforementioned situation that we're all in right now, still going on, still lingering. Is it over? Is it not over? Never going to say. But let's just go right into it. What do you think professional wrestling, independent and mainstream, what do you think is the best thing for professional wrestling right now?
I think that pro wrestling should take a little break, and sort of. I don't think we should be in any rush to. We shouldn't be in any rush to have shows. Just to stay on the safe side. I mean, like gatherings aren't really like. It's not the best idea. Like people out there. We're putting ourselves at risk. We put ourselves at risk when we get into the ring, for sure. But you're putting yourselves at risk showing up at an event where, people could have, COVID, and this is a time where we can contemplate our comeback. And I definitely thought that WWE itself should take a little break too, but they look like they're going to continue doing what they're doing.
I mean, that's one thing you can always guarantee. WWE will always just continue to do what they do.
Right.
Now, it is an interesting point you bring up here. Now, because I have actually mentioned this in the past, about a lot of things that we're seeing are not necessarily all that induced. If you look at the rules that are laid out of what safety is supposed to look like, it's like WWE has that big plexiglass hockey cage that they have, but it doesn't change that the wrestlers are still interacting with each other, and it doesn't stand that the people on the other side of that are standing right next to each other. And we even saw on Monday, we already saw the Street Profits. They walked right through the crowd. So even if everybody's wearing masks in the crowd, like what difference does this really make? I often talk about security theater and how this is just there to make people feel better, even if it makes no actual sense. And so while you do mention taking a break and taking a hiatus, WWE clearly isn't. AEW is also not doing any such thing. But there are going to be some people who are mentioning, we've talked about this before on the show, the idea of the gig economy. Some wrestlers who are in need of certain revenue streams, and also fundraising that is being done. I know there are some independent shows who are looking to start up to do fundraising for certain charities and all that, especially during these times. Now, that is going to be the counter that you face with some people who are in support of getting shows back up. How would you respond to that?
Dude, it's gig workers, and I am one myself. Like, before COVID happened, I was making a full-time living as an actor. Like, that was how I paid my bills. Like, nothing's on set. Like, sets aren't happening. No TV shows, no sets, nothing. No movies, nothing. We're all hurting for money. I haven't gotten my unemployment still. Just learn. It's time to learn a new hold. It's like we're gonna get through this. You're not alone in the struggling times, because everybody's going through some unpredicted, unescapable, unprecedented times. It's just it's how we're gonna get through it.
Right.
Is going to be what kind of makes it go by quicker.
Absolutely. Now, interestingly enough, let's finally get into Bruce, because you brought up your work as an actor, because I think that's something else that everybody should know too. But real quick, let's just say hi to everybody else who just.
Hey, everybody else.
Hey there, Harry Flynn. How you doing? Alexis.
Harry Flynn.
Harry Flynn. Yeah. So, here's the question.
Hey, what's up?
Because you brought up two things with learning a new hold, a lovely phrase I do like, back in the locker room phrase. Is now a good time to diversify, and how important is it to diversify your creativity, Cory?
Well, I mean, as far as being a wrestler and then having to want to do other things, like that didn't just start now. I've always wanted to do other things. Like, I started doing like open mic stand-up comedy in 2008. So it's a thing. I've always thought it was important to have other things that it's going to make your wrestling better when it finally comes back. If it ever comes back for me, I don't know. But I know I for sure, I'm an entertainer and I'm a performer. And if I can't be that in a ring right now, then I'm going to create as much content as I can. That's why I put out new episodes of my podcast every Monday, Evolving with Cory Kastle. This past Monday, I had a comedian, Eli Sayers, on, and this upcoming Monday, I have a episode dropping with Todd Glass.
Nice. And where can everybody find your podcast? Because they definitely need to give you a listen.
Yeah, it's on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, anywhere you find podcasts and subscribe to quality podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all those other platforms.
Very good. Yeah, definitely, guys, give that show a listen. Now, the furthermore thing that I want to point out real quick, before we get to Bruce, I know we were going to get into that, but you just reminded me. So when it comes to stand-up comedy, this is a side note, but I've done a lot of stand-up comedy myself. Been professional for over 10. Oh, man, I'm going on 20 now that I think about it. Yeah. Oh, man. No, 15. Never mind. Okay, 15.
15 is more going on 20 than going on 10.
That's sadly true. But, and The Rock has also said, I've talked about this previously in another episode, but I've talked about how there are a lot of professional wrestlers who stand up, not just Dolph Ziggler. I have a whole list of them. Watch that video. I'm not going to tell you now. If you want to know who they are, go watch the video. But for me, am
I in that video?
I did not know you at the time I made it. But the Rock has said it. I've said it. There are a lot of traits that go hand in hand with stand-up comedy as well as professional wrestling, especially on mic work. So I do want to talk about that. What traits do you find in stand-up comedy help you in professional wrestling, and vice versa? What are the similarities? What are the keys to doing both well?
Well, I mean, public speaking and like the consequence that exists inside of being in the public eye, being looked at, I say this all the time. Anybody who's in the entertainment business, in comedy, in pro wrestling, or in acting, it's like we all have this like gigantic look at me hole caused by some damage. We're all damaged folks, and we're trying to fill this look at me hole. So comedy does for that, like, what we can't do as much like there's not as many wrestling shows in the week that can fill that hole as much as get up on stage a couple times a week.
That is very true. Yeah, it does fill a specific kind of void. I will give you that is very logical. Also, for now, and I have actually said this before. If you follow Cory, if you know his work, and you definitely should, he is a very funny guy. Like you are, I've told you this before, and like especially in the locker room, you're an hysterical dude to hang around with. Now again, you just reminded me of something else. Where do you feel the line is for comedy wrestling, especially now with some people saying that, oh, like so and so, this character, this wrestler is going too far with it, or this wrestler is not going too far with it. Do you think there is a line, and where is that line in comedy wrestling?
It's tough, man.
Loaded question, I know.
Because I told you before we started that Nick Burke is one of my idols. I think Nick Burke is one of the men in the wrestling business who taught me a lot about traveling up and down the road. And I would shout out real quick to Bar, rest in peace, Z-Bar, and one of the guys that took me on the road with Nick Burke. Nick Burke continued to stay my mentor. But I have to say, he wanted me to do a lot of comedy stuff back in the day, and I always said no. I said I want to separate those worlds. I want to be a funny comedian, and I want to be a good wrestler. And if I if I get myself too up to my neck in being a funny wrestler, I'll forget how to be a good wrestler. Because I want to be, for sure, a tough guy, you know. And it's like if I'm too silly, the tough guy stuff goes away. But I think it's about how you carry yourself and what presentation you make, and that's all something that you wind up learning through being out there on the roads and hitting tons of shows as often as you possibly can. And it's not something you can learn in some book or learn from some how-to video. It's something you have to hands-on figure out. Wrestling, sometimes like the comedy stuff, if not done well, it can just be like a parody of wrestling, because you still want that good wrestling too. So it's a real hard, thin line to walk down.
I like that you point out that it is different for everybody. Like you got to find that line, and there is, because it does work differently for different people. I think that's very well said. Yeah. Especially like, and because Joel McHale has said this, and I think he reflected the.
He's a wrestler?
No, he's not. But he's not. But he reflected this on the same thing with speaking about Joe Piscopo, also not a wrestler. But he said there is a thing for some reason in society that you could only be so big and be considered funny. like there's this thing there. He said like same thing with Joe Piscopo, because like Joe McHale is actually a pretty muscular guy. Not everybody knows this, but he said for some reason there's like this size complex where people don't think you can be funny after you get past a certain size. Like, and it's weird when he said that. It made me think. I was like, that is true. People do have this weird stigma, and you have to kind of break it once you're a big guy. Once you pass a certain stage, and you have to kind of reintroduce yourself to the public to let you know you're funny, because people naturally don't think of you that way, which I think is weird that society kind of has this thing against muscular guys to a point.
It's a matter of tippy-toeing through their prejudgments.
Yes.
And you can do that if you continue to be genuine. I think people can see through insincerity really quickly. I think that the stigma isn't only on big people, and I don't consider myself a big person, but I do have bits that I've been doing where I'm like, hey, you know how like people say like you're body shaming somebody, like, oh, the big fat person, blah blah blah. And it's like, you can't come up to me and then body shame me for being in shape, because I don't do this because I feel good about myself. I don't put myself in good physical condition because like I'm all together up here. Like I hate myself. I'm working on me. Calm down. Like, don't body shame me, because it's just gonna continue to be this damaged thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm still seeking validation. I still need compliments. So if you were doing that to make you feel better about yourself, find some other way. Find some other way about who you are inside to feel better about who you are instead of trying to take a shot at me, because all I ever want to do is be your friend. And I know that you deserve unconditional love and support, and you deserve to be heard and seen and have your platform. I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I'm not your competition. I'm not your competition at all. I say that to anybody.
I very much agree with that. I love that idea. Yeah, and so much of the internet, especially nowadays with social media, it's about a lot of people. While the internet has this amazing ability that it can make everybody famous, a lot of people use it to tear other people down. Where you could use it to spread your message, a positive message. A lot of times, sometimes people use negativity to tear down things on the internet and in person too. Let's not forget that it happens in person still. So yeah, I very much agree with that. Okay, so now let's finally get into it. Tell us about Bruce, because as you said earlier, you are an actor, a very talented actor, and as I said, I don't want to spoil too much, but I absolutely loved what it was about. So I don't know what to give away, what not to give away. So I'll just let you handle it. It'll make life easier. So tell us about Bruce.
Here's what I do. Here's how I say. Okay. It's 15 minutes. If you're listening to this on demand at some point, just hit pause, take 15 minutes of your time, and look up Bruce on YouTube. If you were to just search Fertile Ground Films, P-H-E-R-T-I-L-E, Fertile Ground Films, check out Bruce. If you don't like it, it's only 15 minutes, and you can talk to me for 15 minutes about how you didn't like it. You can have 15 minutes of my time. But I'd much rather hear how you did like it, because I think anybody who's watched it so far has enjoyed it. And it's got 1 thumbs down and like 80 some thumbs up. Because there's always somebody who's gonna
always that one fool, yeah.
There's always gonna be that one. It was like it was somebody was going back and forth with me on Twitter, and they're like, "Oh, I'm giving it a thumbs down." Like, you didn't even watch it. You're just giving it a thumbs down because you want to hate stuff.
Because I will say this, because you told me like nothing about it. You just told me. Hey,
but I didn't want to. I for sure want, because we can't tell you what it is first.
Right.
We can't tell you what it is first, because then it'll ruin it for you.
Exactly. So it was a cool journey, like getting to find things out. That's why, like I said, I don't know what to say and what not to say, but I really liked it, and I thought it was really good, and I liked it, and. And you're right, it's only 15 minutes. I'm just going to let everybody on the Know It All Nation right now know, you've been here longer than the movie. So if you've been here, you can definitely watch the movie. But yeah, give it a chance for sure. As I said, the journey was really good. This is what I liked about it. Figuring out and exploring, you're like, oh, I get it now. That's what I liked about it. And you were fantastic in it, personally. I want to say
Thanks,
that too.
Dude.
All right.
Thanks, man. Well, if you want to see me, like, neck down, all fake tattoos, they're incredibly done. It's incredible
that too, because I was like, I didn't know he had this many tattoos.
Nope, I don't have those tattoos, but Bruce does.
Right. They looked great. Yeah, they looked great, because I just remember staring. I'm like, did he get work done since the last time I saw him?
No, man. I mean,
they looked legit. Yeah, they really did look real.
That was what took up our budget. We would have had a full length feature if we didn't have such an expensive tattoo budget.
Here's the. Did I mention? Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to ask. How long did the fake tattoo process actually take?
Oh, it was. I mean, we did it a coutle times.
Yeah. How long?
We did it a couple times. So each time it was a little bit faster, a little bit longer amount of time. Like, so I'd say mostly it was like 2.5, 3 hours each time.
Wow. And how long does it take to take them off?
No, I couldn't take them off. I had to wear my whole December was just wearing fake tattoos. My Christmas photos with my family, fake tattoos.
Wow. Did you tell them it was fake, or did you just let it go?
No, they. I mean, you could tell they're sticky if you touch them.
Oh, really?
I was sticking to my sheets at night. It was a nightmare.
So on your sheets, you'd see the imprints of like spider webs and stuff,
Right? Yeah.
or like whatever, all the different kinds of tattoos. Oh, well, that's good to know. Well, all right, no, good fake tattoos are apparently sticky. All right, so
Well, the
yeah.
first round wasn't sticky. The second time we did them, they were sticky. I guess we did something different the second time, but they got sticky a lot when I stuck to my bed sheets.
Almost tempted you to get real ones, right? Almost, right?
Yeah, dude. You know, it was funny. If you watch the movie, another good reason why I say to watch the movie, because the female lead in the movie is the hottest girl I've ever seen in my life. So if you like hot girls with tattoos and mega smoking hot bodies, check out Bruce. But she really liked me for like a month with fake tattoos.
Wait, her tattoos are real.
Hers are real, yeah.
Okay, good to know. And yes, I will confirm. I will confirm what you said. That is accurate. Yes, agreed. All right. So now we talked about diversification as learning your acting ability, learning your comedy skills, and branching out. And I do agree with you. Now would be a great time, especially with the independent scene not necessarily running everywhere. And as you said, you don't really you wish professional wrestling and even in the mainstream companies would take a break too. But when we do come back, if everything goes back to normal, what kind of things are you expecting for the independent scene upon getting people in? Once it is safe and once everything is good to go, what is it that what do you foresee happening?
I I'm only optimistic. Honestly, I'm only optimistic about it. I hope people are looking out for everybody and excited to be out of their homes, like excited to be gathering and excited to be enjoying something that they all enjoy. I mean, that's why people are out now, because they just love it and they miss it so much. I mean, I can see that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. The only thing that's wrong with it is the public health of it. And we're gonna get through this. Once we get through it, wrestling will hopefully be better than it ever was. I know a lot of stuff is gonna fall off. Like a lot of companies aren't gonna come back. A lot of indies aren't gonna come back, and a lot of indies will try to come back and then they'll fail. And it's gonna be sad for a lot of people, but it'll weed out the bad stuff. Like, I mean, speaking of like the speaking out movement and all of that, hopefully we lose a lot of the cancers that are in the business.
Yeah. Also, now that we already lost Chikara. That's no longer around.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one of those things. Even though, like, I did like the work in the company and all that stuff, as I said, I did like Chikara personally for what it was.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah.
I did too. I worked for Chikara. Back when you were just a little tinkle in your dad's underpants. But no, I worked for Chikara back in like 2005,
Yeah.
like 2005, 2006. I mean, let me also mention that I'm old. I'm an old vet. I've been doing this my whole life.
I
Like,
mean, you don't look it is the thing too.
right, I got into a ring for the first time during the Attitude Era, when all three companies were still existing. Can you believe that? The major three companies still existed the first time I stepped into a ring, and I'm still here.
And don't get me wrong, I get that too, because like I like you, like a lot of people just assume I'm younger than I am, but I'm with you on that one. So I know what it's like, but I mean, one thing that's great about being able to say, now this does remind me, or this sparks another question I have for you that I actually never actually asked you about, but having such a long career, how have you seen things change? How have you seen the locker room change? How have you seen the business change from that time period of your career?
I didn't realize it was changing as much as it was, and I think like if I go back and I watch what made me fall in love with wrestling, like when I watched like '90s WWF, that was what made me fall in love with wrestling. So like the mid to late '90s was what made me fall in love with wrestling. There was a feel that wrestling had that doesn't have anymore, where it was like everything seems a little too perfect, everything seems a little too produced, and it's like we seem like it's a little too manufactured at this point. Like I think that might have been the biggest change so far, that everything seems a little too manufactured. Everything's overly produced. Everything's overly perfected. It's like it doesn't have to be perfect the whole time, because if it's imperfect for a minute, then that's the moment someone suspends their disbelief. So let's not overly complicate things here.
I like that, and I do feel the same way. There's like a lot of it's almost sterile. It's like sterilely clean how perfect things are nowadays. And I've talked about that with certain guys. Like back in the day, Mr. Perfect. I've said some people criticize. They think that he's too reckless with it, like the limb flailing, and I think they say he looks sloppy. I actually like it because it looked less clean. It looked, dirty, and I even liked that he did it that way. And those were the aspects I always gravitate to, where I feel like a lot of times the things that people do look a little too, and the production value, especially the production value, is way too spot on nowadays. Good wrestling should have the cameraman have to jump and scuttle out of the way every once in a while, or get hit. Like, hey, if you're a cameraman in wrestling, you might get hit. You just need to learn to live with that, and it's what to do. But now everything is kept so HD ruined everything, because now you can get a really clean shot from half a mile away. I also when the cameraman used to be able to have to dodge buckshot like a real cameraman,
I'm very for a lot of inclusion. I'm very for a lot of acceptance. I love the fact that people who weren't represented before now can represent their culture, can represent their life, can represent their community, their family. It does seem like before that wrestlers were like these tough guys that, and I mean one of my best friends is Grey Wolf. I don't know if you know who Grey Wolf is. He's like a Viking. He's humongous. You wouldn't miss him if you seen him. But he actually, I saw him at Wawa today, and when I said his name across Wawa, he was like, "Whoa!" Like he was like he was gonna ruin me. but it's like you couldn't watch wrestling back in the day as just a civilian and go, I could beat that guy in a fight. Well, you can do that now, can't you?
Well, not me, but some people.
But I mean, I think some people can. And that's a thing that's missing about wrestling. But I for sure think that it's a sacrifice to make to have everybody feel represented. Like, because I do like the inclusion. I do like the idea that like I forget what one of the Star Wars movies I watched. I watched it with my last girlfriend. We were sitting here watching it, and they had like a young like Asian girl.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy that little young Asian girls can feel like they're, like they have a part in this world. They can feel represented.
The internet didn't feel the same way as a whole, but No,
I mean, who cares? Who cares?
That's right.
Like, really, I mean, when it comes down to it, like, when can you ever see yourself in the stuff that you like? Right? Like, probably not that often.
True.
Like, I never watched Michael Jordan perform an amazing basketball move and be like, well, that's what I'm like. It's not.
Gotcha. All right, so we got a couple of minutes left. Let's just get into the
I
chat
mean,
real quick.
Michael Jordan's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
The Last Dance was great. If you haven't seen The Last Dance, it's on Netflix now. Check it out. It's pretty good.
I've mentioned for the LeBron versus Jordan debate. Jordan, I'm on the Jordan side. But let's get real quick. Let's see if anybody has any comments, any questions they want to ask you real quick on the live stream. We do have King Kaito saying, "Oh, so we're in the presence of a living legend, I see. So you are a living legend from the King Kaito himself." Let's see if anybody else. I will
Thank
try
you,
to put a link. Oh, a lot of people asking about a link to Bruce. Some of you have found it. I will try. After this is done, I will put one. I'll see if I can put one in the description of this. So if you're not watching this live, you can go ahead and check this out. I'll try to put a link in the description of this video. Okay, so all right. So anybody have any questions for Cory Kastle before we sign off? Cory's a busy guy. He actually has another engagement he has to do right after this one because so I'm trying not to monopolize your time too much. Yeah, he's going to be working with another friend of this channel. You guys know, Mr. Tristan Law. So look forward to that. So see, I got to shout out both you and Tristan in the same sense. Okay, so any questions before he goes? Because I'm trying to make sure I don't keep him too long. I don't want to make Tristan mad. Because as you know, Tristan teddy bear, but he's also a big dude.
We got another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, let's see what.
No rush.
Okay, cool. Let's see what everybody else has got. See if anybody's got any other sentences or anything they want to say. Yeah. So, any questions for Cory that you would like to get? Let's do the Q&A time. Let's see what everyone's got. Oh, and by the way, while we're at it, Cory, also remind everyone yet again where they could find your podcast.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about the quarantine and pandemic and COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, 2020, it's given me the opportunity to add a video element to my podcast. So if you were to just put in Cory Kastle, like just the channel, CORYKASTLE, you can watch a ton of the videos of the ones, dude, honestly, those don't really have a lot of views. Most people like to consume it through the audio. I mean, I prefer that with most of the podcasts I listen to. But I mean, I do appreciate knowing that people exist. I constantly say it as often as possible. Dude, the currency of your effort, the currency of your attention, the fact that you pay me your attention is so appreciated and so important to me. I have to always say how much I love being able to be a resource for anyone, whether it's some entertainment or whether it's some wisdom or some lessons or me talking to somebody else and learning something. That's why I call it Evolving with Cory Kastle, because it's not just that I host the show. It's I'm evolving too through these conversations. So if you can get some cool little nuggets out of having these, listening in on these conversations I've had with just people who fascinate me, and that's what I want to continue to do. I want to continue to have conversations with people who teach me lessons and teach the listeners lessons.
I like that. I like that a lot, man. See, Cory, mad deep dude. And yes, thank you for paying attention to Cory today as well as me. But real quick, Harry Flynn did want to ask who, Cory, is your favorite wrestler?
My favorite wrestler is Chris Jericho.
Nice.
He's a dream guest. Dream guest on my podcast. For as long as I've had the podcast, I've reached out to him via DMs and such. Never got a response once. I don't know if it'll ever happen. I'm not popular enough. My podcast isn't popular enough. I can't do anything to benefit him. But it'd be a really awesome podcast, considering the fact that he's also done everything that he's dreamt of, just like I have.
Right. He even got to play hockey in there. He even got to play hockey on the Rangers.
Right.
Kind of.
So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a comedian, and I wanted to be a professional wrestler and an actor. And I'm all of those things. I'm all those things now. And Chris Jericho, when he was a kid, wanted to be a rock star and a pro wrestler. Right. And a rock star, he is. And a pro wrestler, he is. And I'm a podcaster now, not because Chris Jericho does it, but it's also great that both of us have podcasts, and maybe it would give me the rub if I did his podcast, but I don't know. I'm not a big enough deal for him.
Well, I say you are, and he just needs to find that out. Real quick, we have another question. I'm sure you're making more. Okay, King Kaido asks, I'll be making sure to see more of your matches and content because you seem like a very cool and honest guy. All right, that wasn't a question, but either way, I'm glad you know it now.
Well, I appreciate that. It's very appreciated. I mean, it's and let this stand for anybody. If ever you're going through something, and you feel like you just need to speak to somebody who won't judge you, I'm not that hard to get a hold of. I'm here. I want to be a resource to anybody I can. So if my podcast can help you through some stuff, like honestly, I've had a lot of people reach out to me telling me how important it was to listen to the episode that I did with my mother.
Yeah.
I did an episode with my mother. I have a lot of episodes that I want to just tell people on the record, knowing that this on the record, this audio, this video is going to outlive us. It's going to outlive me. It's going to outlive my mom. If it's gonna help me a lot one day when she's not here with me anymore. To be able to listen on the record, me go, I care about everything that you did for me, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. And that's the way I like to encourage anybody to live their life, to just not just think things and feel things and never say them. Like if you can encourage somebody, by all means, encourage somebody.
Yeah, I like that. And you're a very positive person. It's always a blast talking to you. As I said, I've enjoyed talking to you backstage, and now I'm glad that I finally get you on the show after all these years. Finally got you on the show.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up right now. Everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this live stream. But most of all, thank you to my friend Cory Kastle for being on the show.
Thanks, Dave.
Hope you enjoyed yourself today.
I did.
All right, so one last time, tell everybody where they can find you, what to check out. Let's plug you one last time.
Find me on Twitter at Cory Kastle, CoryKastle. Find me on Instagram, same thing. I post a lot on Twitter. I don't post as much on Instagram as I should. I honestly do. Like I told you, I'm broke just like everybody else is right now. If I'm being completely transparent, my rent's due today, and I gotta pay rent with money I don't have. I just went and cleaned some people's pools, put $80 in my pocket, and I'm still short on the rent by $400. We're all going through it. So don't think you're alone in your struggles. Please got them. And if I can help you with some of my words, please let me do that, because I feel accomplished in that, even if I'm feeling worthless in my finances.
And definitely, guys, support Cory Kastle in any way. As he said, even if you just pay attention to the work he's done, which definitely deserves it on its own. Please. Make sure you do.
I hope that I'm a handsome enough guy, but I started an OnlyFans account where I'm posting just shirtless photos of myself every day. Hopefully, people will subscribe to that for just $10 a month, but no one's subscribed. I post about it every day. I post about it. I post on it every day. Just a bunch of shirtless photos of me. And if I can like throw some bonus podcast content out there, I'll do it. But I got no followers. I got no fans.
Yeah. So you the people just gotta tell Cory what you want, and he's more than happy to deliver, right?
Yeah. Check out Cory Kastle. Just search my name. Search my name on anything, and it'll come up. I don't have any like inappropriate naughty things,
right.
but just this handsome face and my chiseled bod.
Exactly. All right, Cory, thank you for being here. All right, Know It All Nation, we're going to sign off for right now. Thank you for stopping in, and as always, Dave knows.